Good morning. My name is Dominique and this is Homesteading for Three. If you are new, I am back in Wisconsin from the trip that I went to go see my sister and help her out with some projects, if you saw those two videos. But I've been away from my garden for a week. My husband has harvested as much as he could with the time that he had while I was gone. But there's still a lot more out there that I need to do, and the garden just needs a little attention. So first, let me show you what he harvested while I was gone. So he harvested all of these tomatoes. There's a lot more cherry tomatoes that he also harvested, but I had him putting them into a freezer bag to freeze. So I actually have 2-gallon size freezer bags in my freezer now. I had one that I had put in the freezer before I left, so he filled up an entire other gallon size full of these, plus all of these, and there's a lot more out there. We also got the first 3 bigger tomatoes that don't have blossom end rot, which is great because a lot of mine did. They're so cute. I love them. They're perfectly ripe. He also got the last little harvest of beans. The bunnies have been getting in there and enjoying those. So this will be the last harvest of beans. But that we already got several, so I'm really happy about that. We also got 2 more cucumbers, and I did see a couple out there as well that we need to harvest. So let's get out in the garden and see what we have waiting for us. Okay, so first let's do a little garden tour before we actually start harvesting. So I do have a bunch of zinnias that flowered while I was gone. A lot of these are getting towards the end of their life here. You can see like a lot of them are falling off, but some are looking still really pretty. So there was only 1 or 2 out here when I left, so that was really exciting. There are a couple cucumbers, one right there and one right there on this little cucumber plant. My corn has exploded. You see that? They all have tassels. Not all of the stalks have ears on them yet, but some of them do. So like this one has a pretty good size ear. This one has a little one that's forming. My husband actually went through, because we weren't sure if there was going to be enough wind here for them to actually get pollinated. So he actually went through and took some tassels from here and put them on the strings. So some of them are farther along than others. Like this one looks like it's almost all the way dried out, so then it'll be ready. But some of them are, you know, this one's still really small, not quite there yet. Some of them don't have any, but if I get any corn at all from this, I'll be excited. Oh, look, there's a bee. So really excited. I mean, it's taller than me now. So that's really cool. My sweet potatoes have gone around the corner here. I think it looks really pretty. I want to like plant these on some sort of trellis or something next time, because I think that would be really pretty if it was going over an arch or something. I don't know if that works, but looks like our cucumbers are coming to an end because they are looking pretty sad. But he did harvest those couple cucumbers. There's one right there, but that got eaten by bugs, so that one's not good. I do have a couple baby cucumbers like right there, but I don't know if they'll actually survive. Oh, I do see one over there. It has a couple of insect marks on it, so something's been eating them. But this one looks like it does have a couple bites in it as well, but maybe we can salvage something off of it for just fresh eating. This one looks like it's pretty much coming to the end, and I think that's all I'm seeing in the cucumber patch. But I was able to make a round of pickles, so I'm satisfied with that. My asparagus is, you know, still chugging along. It's gonna be until next year or the year after before I harvest that. Can't believe we're still getting blooms. I mean, this has been blooming for a long time. My broccoli never did anything. This is, you know, it just leafed up there. I never got any sort of head. Oh, it looks like a tiny one, but like it didn't do anything worth harvesting, so that's okay. Try again in the future. This is my chamomile that was volunteer, because I did not plant that there, and it looks like it is tangling in with this other flower that I did plant that I don't know the name of. Oh my gosh, it's like tangling in in the fence, but these are still looking pretty. I love the leaves or the petals on these. They're so pretty. I don't know what it's called though. Looks like my dog's eating something, so that's cool. What are you eating? He probably found a tomato. This other cucumber plant, I don't think I see any cucumbers on this one. This one's kind of coming to the end too. Tomatoes. Now tomatoes, I can see a lot of orange cherry tomatoes, which I will be going through and harvesting. But I also do see a couple bigger tomatoes. These are Romas. But it looks like these ones do have the blossom end rot on them. So that's not cool. It didn't get watered as often while I was gone, which is understandable because my husband had a lot going on as well. But I'm glad we had a couple inside. But I do see more that are still green. So hopefully those will be okay. I'll give it a good drink and try to water it every day from here on out. But a lot of orange tomatoes. So we will have quite a bit. So if nothing else, I'll be able to make things out of the cherry tomatoes. Just if I make sauce or whatever, it'll just be orange, but that's okay. It'll still taste good. Lots of orange. Now this, my pepper plants here, my jalapeno plants, have gone kind of crazy. I have quite a few jalapenos on here. Trying to see if I see any red ones. That one's starting to turn darker. I don't think I see any red ones, but some are starting to turn. That one you can see is starting to turn. So a lot of these, oh, there we go. Looks purple almost. These ones are starting to fall out of their cages. So I think what I'm gonna do is probably go through and harvest like all of these jalapenos. Because, except maybe the ones that are really little, because I would like to try to make cowboy candy. I've never made that before. My basil bolted while I was gone. That's okay. I do have some parsley there that I could harvest. It's kind of mixed in with the flowers there, but all these flowers did so well. I was really surprised that it bloomed that much. And then this is my red marigold that my daughter got at school, and it was just one tiny little sprout. It was like really tiny and really leggy when I got it, and I put it under the grow lights, and it has just exploded out here. So I love that. I do have a lot of banana peppers here that popped up. So some of these, didn't get that big, but they're starting to turn, which means they've reached their full size. And then some of these big ones have gotten blistered by the sun, so those aren't gonna work, but I do have some on here that haven't, so maybe I'll get some from that. That's pretty cool. I think they're the sweet banana peppers. So I had bell peppers on here and they turned red, but they also got scalded by the sun, so unfortunately I won't get anything from that, but I do have a couple small ones that I can pick because they're starting to turn, so better than nothing. This is just so unruly, it's like hard to even see what's in the middle here, but I'm gonna go through and harvest as much as I can from this bed. It should be quite a bit. So this entire bed is pretty much done. So this is the lettuce that I had let go to flower so that they would hopefully attract pollinators. Now they have these cute little flowers on them. That's kind of fun. This is my cosmos, which I never got any blooms from, but I don't know if that's one that you're supposed to the first year. These are also coming to their end. So nothing in here because I harvested the onions out of here. And then these are the beans where my husband went through and picked the remaining beans, but the bunnies were getting in there. So they're pretty much done now. See, the peas have died off. I really didn't get much peas, maybe like a handful. But the yellow beans I was really happy about. So I do have a couple more on there that are sizing up. So maybe I'll get a few more as a snack. But other than that, I'm really happy with the amount we got from this over the season. All right, I have a bigger bin than my tiny little basket. I need to get more big like harvest baskets, but I don't have that. Tox, leave it. Puppies, I tell you. But let's see, I think I'm gonna have a lot of tomatoes, so let's do some harvesting. So this is all the tomatoes I got. Some of them are not fully ripe yet, but they have started to blush, so they will ripen inside. These 3 bigger ones either have blossom end rot or bug damage. Looks like, maybe. Leave it. But we got more cherry tomatoes. You know, I've been feeding him tomatoes because he loves them. No. Now I am gonna grab the couple of cucumbers that I saw in here, even though some of them have bug damage. We'll see if we can salvage anything off of them. This one actually looks pretty good. And I see one more on the other side I'll grab. I actually got 2 more, but they're pretty eaten up. All right, I got 3 little ones from the cucumber plants that I have in my grow bags. This one's like weird shaped. It's like more round, but they look pretty good otherwise. All right, we're gonna pick some peppers. And like I said, some of these have gotten sun scalded. So those will end up being composted, but hopefully we can get some. See, like these ones I thought had to get much yellower. These pictures are so misleading because they look much yellower or like almost white in this picture, but none of them get to that. And like some of these, like this one I'm gonna harvest, already started turning colors, which is an indication that it is ripe. But it's not as white as the picture, but we'll see how it tastes, I guess. I'm just gonna get rid of these that are sun scalded for my compost. Like this one, I'm like, I don't know if it's ready or not. I guess this one's a little lighter. Maybe I'll give it a little bit more time and see if it gets a little lighter. I don't know. I don't know enough about these. See if any more are changing colors yet. No, there's none on over here. Another one that started changing color. It's tiny, very tiny. Pick this one just because it has a couple of spots on the bottom. I think I'm gonna leave the rest for a couple more days. There's a weed. And see if they lighten up just a tad. But looks like we do have couple of bell peppers in here actually. They're little. They are little, but they have not sun scalded, so I'm gonna pick it. Because this one does have a little damage on it, but it was starting to blush up a little bit. So I don't think they're gonna get any bigger. But at least I have 2 good ones with no spots on them. It's a pretty pepper even though it's not that big. And that might be it. That might be it for that plant. I do have quite a few tomatoes in that tomato plant in there. You can't really see it, but I do have quite a few green tomatoes in there and they're bigger. So that's encouraging. Another little green pepper. So these are getting soft. So I don't know if they're gonna be good. Or maybe I just picked them too early and they weren't ready. I don't know. Okay, now you probably see this red in here, and this is one of the ones that is definitely cannot talk today. Sun scalded. Ugh, not looking good. So I think next year when I do peppers, I probably will have to shade them somehow. But It was a learning experience. They still did a lot better than my peppers last year. And this one looks pretty good. It's actually started to change color a little bit. It's small again, but it's not too bad. Oh. Now this is a wonky looking one. Now we have a lot of jalapenos to pick. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but there are a ton of jalapenos on this plant. It has done very, very well. I'm very excited about that. So I think I'm gonna pick any that are like a good size or have started to blush. And I'm only gonna leave the ones that are really little that haven't started to blush yet or change color, because I would love to attempt making cowboy candy, which I've never done. Okay, I found one more cucumber that was growing by another grow bag near the shed. This is actually insane how many jalapenos I got. Let me show you. Oh my goodness. I also have some inside from before I left for vacation, so I have to see if those are still good. I put them in the fridge. But yeah, I think we'll be able to do some cowboy candy and salsa. Super excited. I don't do this enough, but it feels super good to just lay in the sun on the grass in the garden. I'm gonna lay here for a minute, and then we'll go inside and make some plans for all the things we harvested. Whew, that was a good harvest day. So first of all, I want to look at all of the produce that I had put in the fridge before I left and see if it's still good. So far, these cucumbers all still look good, which is awesome. I also have this whole bag of jalapenos. Oh no, it looks like a couple of them went moldy. So some of them in this bag look totally fine, and some of them did start to mold. So I'm gonna sort through these and give them a good wash, the ones that I'm gonna keep. But I'll get rid of ones that are showing any sign of going bad. Okay, so I only had to throw away 9 jalapenos, which in relation to how many I have is not that big of a deal. But these are the ones that I was able to save from the ones that I picked before I went on vacation. And then I have all the rest. So I'm gonna actually lay out everything that I harvested today so we can really see it, because some of it's kind of buried and whatnot. All right, so this is what was harvested last week. And this is what we harvested this week. Whoo! That is a lot. I'm so proud of this. So I think for the green peppers, is I just have these 4 little ones. I think I'm just gonna cut these up and throw them in the fridge and use them later this week. For the cucumbers, I almost have enough for another like small batch of pickles, so I might do that. The tomatoes, I'm gonna use some tomatoes and jalapenos and onions that I harvested last week, and garlic that I have. And I'll have to get some cilantro because I don't have any cilantro, but I want to make salsa. So I'm going to look up a recipe for that. And then I'm going to look up a recipe for cowboy candy to see how many jalapenos I need, because I want to make sure I have enough for both. I still do have some jalapenos out there that were just really small, so I will probably get another small harvest of those. And the tomatoes are still coming in. I mean, they're nuts. And those are, because they're indeterminate tomatoes, they're going to keep producing until disease or frost kills them off. And it's only August right now, so we are probably 2 months away from our first frost date, because I am in Wisconsin and we do get a first frost, I believe, in October typically, or early November, depends on the year. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little research and then we'll be back and kind of figure out what we're doing today. Okay, so we are gonna do salsa first. So I found a recipe that's really, really easy. I took all the tomatoes that I have out of the freezer and combined them with the ones that I had that were ripe, that we picked. So I still have some that are not fully ripe yet. But I weighed these and I have half of what this recipe needs. So I'm gonna do a half a recipe, which still should make like, I don't know, 6 or 7 pints. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to find out. But I'm going to put these in a giant stock pot with all of the other ingredients. So I'm going to get my pot over here. So this recipe, I'm going to read what I'm putting in here. But just know that what I'm putting in here is actually a half recipe. So I'm going to put in, it was loud, 7.5 cups of tomatoes. Not cups, sorry, 7.5 pounds of tomatoes. I'm gonna put in, it calls for a half recipe would be 1 jalapeno, but since mine aren't as big as normal, I'm gonna do 3. But so obviously I'm not gonna even make a dent in these jalapenos, which is good because I'll be able to make more pickled candied jalapenos or cowboy candy, in case you don't know what that is. So I'm also going to cut up my jalapenos. I'm going to grab 2.5 cups of onions from the basement because I have those downstairs curing from the ones that I harvested last week. So I'm gonna get these jalapenos cut. I'm gonna grab some onions, get those cut up. I will need to go to the store across the street and grab a bunch of cilantro. And then I have I have the 3 tablespoons of garlic. I'll need a 1/6 of a cup of lime juice, which I have, and then a tablespoon of canning salt. So I'm gonna get these jalapenos cut up. All right, I put my jalapenos in here. I did 3 jalapenos and I left the seeds in because I want to try to make it a little spicier than the salsa that I made last year. So we'll see. I cut up a couple of my onions that I grew and my eyes were watering so bad, so I threw the rest of them in the fridge because if you make them cold, it's supposed to help your eyes not water as much. But they're so strong, which is good because I love onions. But I'll cut the rest of the onions up, add those. And then I will just have to go get some cilantro from the store. And then I'll add my garlic and my lime juice and my salt. And then we'll cook it up in the pot. All right, we have our onions all chopped up. I'm gonna chop up the garlic and then go get some cilantro. All right, I got my bunch of cilantro. So I am going to cut that up. I added the garlic already. And basically all we do is bring it up to a boil over medium-high heat. Once it goes up to a boil, you turn the heat down, boil for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna water bath it for 15 minutes. So it's actually a really simple recipe because you're basically just throwing everything together, cooking it for a little bit, and then canning it. So that is my kind of recipe. Okay, I have my cilantro all chopped up, so I'm gonna add it to my pot. And then I'm going to turn the heat up to medium-high and we'll let it get up to a boil. And then we'll get cooking. Forgot to add the pickling salt, so I'm doing that now. It's only been cooking for like 5 minutes. But I forgot to mention, so you might be wondering why. I just heard a sound and I looked over. It's pouring outside. So I'm super glad I did the harvesting this morning and didn't water the garden yet because that's gonna water it for me. And we just went to the store. We walked across the street, so we just got back in time. That's funny. But anyway, I'm adding this pickling salt to the pot. And you might be wondering why I didn't cut the cherry tomatoes in half. And that's because, number one, more than half of them were frozen. And number two, I think because they're so small, I think once they cook down, once these all melt and, start heating up, and then mixing it, I think it'll cook down enough. If I need to, I'll use something to like smash them a little bit, but it's more of a rustic kind of salsa, I think, so it'll be fine. But yeah, cooking this down. Okay, so this has been cooking down for 10 minutes. What I ended up doing is using a ladle and a fine mesh strainer to strain out some of the, or take out some of the liquid, because it was a little too liquidy just because a lot of my tomatoes were frozen. So I wanted it to be a little thicker. So I took my canning funnel and I put it over this jar, and then I ladled through a fine mesh strainer so that I wouldn't lose any of the chunks of things. But now I have this tomato juice that also has like onion and garlic and cilantro flavor in it. But how good would this be as a Bloody Mary mix? I was thinking I could make a Bloody Mary out of it. That'd be so good. Just add the vodka and some hot sauce and some garnishes, and oh, that would be so good. So I'm gonna can this along with the salsa, and we'll see how it is. But you can see it's orange because of my tomatoes being sun gold cherry tomatoes. So my salsa will also be orange, but I think that's kind of unique and cool. So I'll show you how it is now. It's still got definitely some liquid that I could take out, but I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. I'll show you it. So this is my salsa. I ended up using I used this, and I kind of went like this and like smashed the tomatoes against the side. So there's some bigger chunks, but I'm kind of okay with that because it's kind of like a rusticy type of salsa. So my canner is simmering. So we are gonna fill our jars just using a ladle and my canning funnel. So we'll see how many jars it actually fills. I love the color of this salsa. Oh my gosh, I just like breathed in some of the fumes of the salsa, and it made me cough like from the jalapenos. So I have a feeling this is gonna be spicy. But we'll see. If it is, that's a good thing, because my husband loves spicy, and the last salsa I made was a very basic, like mild salsa. I made it last year. So he will be excited about that. And it'll be really easy to tell which one's which because this is orange. So I'm just gonna fill them up, and then I will debubble, and then we'll see where they're actually at. As far as how much headspace, we may have to add a little bit more. Top it off, because it sometimes settles a little bit in the jar when you debubble. I just think it's so pretty. I'm gonna scrape the sides of this because I think I'm gonna have just enough to fill this jar. Well, I spilled salsa on me, but I have never brought up the exact number of jars I needed, and it ended up working out perfectly. Okay, so now I have a wet paper towel. I'm just gonna wipe down the rims. If I am doing something like jam that's sticky, I will use white vinegar on a white vinegar on a paper towel. But since this is, and I need a debubble. Since this isn't sticky, I'm just gonna use water. Debubble first. Now wiping the rims. And I just tried it too. I licked what was left on the debubbler after I was done. It's got a really good flavor. It's like got a little kick, but it's not like super ridiculously spicy. So I think it'll be really good. So my canner is fully boiling now. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit for a second. So we are gonna put on our lids. And then I'm gonna put on the rings, fingertip tight. You don't wanna crank it on super tight. Oops. And then I'm gonna get these in the canner. Okay, we're gonna throw these in the canner. I'm so pumped that I brought up the exact number of jars I needed. Like, that never happens, I swear. So I'm gonna drop these down in here. Now, the water level is right for the pints, but the quart is sticking out a little bit. So I'm gonna have to add a little bit of water here. This is why I really don't like water bath canning with all quart jars, because to get the water line up, it's like all the way, it's like really close to the top, and it ends up bubbling over when you're canning, and I hate that. So I'm gonna add a little more water though. Add this in. Side note, this is a jug I got Rather Dairy, Appleton, Wisconsin. This used to be my husband's like grandparents or great grandparents, I don't even know, but they apparently used to have a dairy farm a long time ago. So I think this is so cool, and we have this jar now, so that's what I was using to fill it up. All right, so I have the water done. You don't have to put a cover on a water bath canner, but I'm going to, just because I had to turn it back up to high. I added that water, so now I need it to come back up to a boil, and I'm hoping that'll make it go faster. So as you can see, I spilled salsa on myself, but it's gonna be worth it, right? Okay, so it started boiling. The water level is really high, so I'm gonna leave the lid on even though you don't have to. Hopefully that'll prevent it from actually going over, but I turned the heat down a little bit to like a medium high, and I have the timer going for 15 minutes, so I'll see you when they are done. I messed up. I just realized I didn't add the lime juice, and you need that to be able to safely water bath can. We were on such a roll. Luckily, I have a pressure canner, so I am actually gonna stop this. And we are just gonna use my electric pressure canner and can it that way, because I don't wanna have to take all the salsa out of those jars, add the lime juice, refill the jars. This way I can just pressure can them and it'll be safe canning, because it doesn't matter how acidic it is for pressure canning. I'm so annoyed. Okay, I was able to fit the 6 pints in there. I couldn't fit that. I'm just gonna leave that in the fridge and just use that. But I'm gonna fill this with a little water and follow my instructions. It's been a little while since I've used this pressure canner, but it only needs to be pressure canned for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna do that and then we'll be back. All right, so it finished canning and I had it sit for an hour. So I'm gonna take it out. And it smells really good. And I'm gonna let it cool completely for 24 hours. We should start to hear these pop at some point. And also, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned it in the last freezer cooking video I did, but I had a bunch of marinara sauce packets, like a whole box of them that my husband got from his work, and I was gonna can them. So while I was waiting for that to cool down, I actually was able to jar them all up. So I got 10 jars, 10 quart-sized jars, which is fantastic, because that's probably around how much I would have wanted to make if I had canned my own like sauce that I made from tomatoes, but I didn't have enough tomatoes yet. So this was actually perfect, because now it's one thing I don't have to make. So I'm gonna pressure can that. I can only fit like 4 quart-sized jars, I think, in my electric pressure canner. But super excited that these are filled. So it was a super productive day. We got 10 jars of marinara sauce canned, and then we also got 6 pint sizes of salsa, which is super exciting. Thanks for hanging out with me. We got a lot of harvesting done and a lot of projects done. So I think it was a good day off before I go back to work. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.